All right. Well, we're live. We're live.
We're working on it.
We're live, coming up
There
on
we
all
go.
these other feeds.
I'm going to get off the Wi-Fi here.
Oh, we got to turn that off.
There we go.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Live. Oh, we are really learning and growing, Kate.
We really are.
We are learning and growing. So for those of you that are out there that are like surprised to see us because we're back, and I don't know if Instagram can see us.
Yep, you need to come this way just a little bit. Instagram.
I'll scoot for Instagram, try and lean in. Instagram's a little harder to get us both into. But we have worked on. Last week we were live on YouTube,
right,
which we are today as well.
Shout out to YouTube.
Yes.
What's up?
But we realized that we weren't able to get everybody else in, and we had a lot of feedback from people saying, "Hey, where did you go?"
Right. Hey, I particularly like to watch your lives on my favorite feed. So here we are again in front of 50 cameras.
We're back.
It can kind of feel a little paparazzi-ish, so I guess it's fun.
It feels a little different, that is for sure. Well, tonight we are excited to get started with you. We've got such great stuff going on in our community. A lot of people are really reaching out and making some big changes in the world. I really love that.
Yes.
A lot of people creating a lot of movement with some of the information that's getting out, and it really helps us flow. And that's one of the things that today we decided would be the best way for us to address. And that's to talk a little bit about, how do you know when you're stuck?
You guys, why I'm laughing so hard is because I'm stuck right now. So Dean's like, hey, why don't we just capitalize on where you're at, Kate?
Why don't we use that as a
use your emotional distress
platform? I'm going to try and move this Instagram a little more.
Here on our platform.
On our platform.
Which I like it.
So there you go. How do you know when you're stuck?
No.
And it's funny because it's not just you that's feeling it.
Right,
I think we get in this time of year. It's September. We're rolling into September. There's a lot of stuff that has just occurred. We've gone through. This is a big year.
Yes, it is.
This will be a notable year. We call it, 2020 hindsight. We definitely were going to be looking back at this one going, wow, we learned a lot about ourselves as a person. We learned a lot about ourselves as a family, as a community, as a city. There's so many things that we've learned so much about ourselves as a world.
Yeah, and I think another interesting spot with it is, and I've seen this come across on my feed a lot, and then something I saw earlier today was, I can't wait till 2020 is over. I can't wait for this year to be past us. We can just move forward and move on. However, there is that like resonating haze of, what does that even look like, right? What is 2021 even going to be any different? Like, there's a little bit of apprehension there, which hence the feeling stuckness.
Feeling stuck. And then we got everybody in school finally.
Yes.
We kind of navigated through this piece, whether we are going to be back online, whether we're going to be back, whether we're hybrid. There's just so many things. And
it has been quite creative.
Very creative.
I think that the different school districts and from what I know in our area and surrounding areas closely, so I don't know what it looks like where you are at and where you're located, but they definitely have gotten very creative.
Very creative. And I love the energy
I do too.
That the schools have put into it. But here's the part that is important for everybody tonight. And this is the part that I want you to recognize is, if you're feeling stuck, that's the first sign that you're moving in a good direction. That's the first sign to know that there's movement. And the reason why is because it's so easy for us to numb out. It's so easy for us to disconnect. It's so easy for us to tune in, turn off, tune out, take something, eat something, watch something,
go somewhere.
And really, this year, because of what's been going on, we haven't had the ability to do a lot of those things. We can't travel as much. We can't go to the shows as much. Right. There's a lot. We've really kind of isolated ourselves. But here's the thing. If you're feeling it, that means that you're tuning into yourself energetically. And that's something that we need to be doing. We need to be tuning in energetically to what's going on and what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. So the first step in recognizing that is to recognize, if I'm feeling stuck, that's a good sign. because you're
I really appreciate you saying this so much right now. You have no idea.
because we've got to recognize it. And a lot of times with the world the way it is, life the way it is, as busy as it can be, to feel like recognize, hey, I don't feel well, or I don't feel settled, or I feel stuck, is not easy.
Yeah, it's a very difficult place to be.
Right.
And I think to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, Dean, and another interesting bit about this year, I think for a lot of us, is we're always preaching coping skills around here, right?
Yep.
We're always talking about the 8 essential coping skills, finding new ways to be able to cope and manage your everyday life, and especially those times that are particularly difficult in your life, right? Doing things in a more healthy manner. And I do feel like that a lot of what has been presented to us and pushed at us has really forced a lot of us to really dig into some new coping skills.
Yes.
Because those old go-tos just aren't available anymore.
Yeah.
And so I would echo what you're saying too. If you're feeling stuck right now, keep trying, just keep doing that. And hopefully my hope, and what we kind of coached on today, is that there is a big break coming soon. It's coming soon. That like the more unrest you're feeling about your stuckness equals the closer you're getting to that breakthrough. It's that pressure, right? Like
Exactly.
The closer that you're getting to really just pushing through the wall there, the more uncomfortable it is.
And the more stuck you feel.
Exactly.
And it's like anything in nature, and I think about dams and the way that they naturally form in a river or a stream or a creek, depending on where you're from.
What side of the tracks you live
Wherever
on.
you're from, creek, whatever. And they'll clog up, they'll block up, they'll dam up. I'll see like a beaver dam or these types of things that occur in nature. Well, what eventually happens is that water will get to a tipping point, or a point where it'll eventually find freedom. It'll find movement and flow once again. And so if you're feeling that buildup of energy, if you're feeling, man, I'm feeling stuck, it's February, good grief, where are we headed? I've got the holidays, so much pressure coming. The reality is that there's a couple pieces. Number one, you will inevitably find your flow again. That I promise you. I promise you, I swear it to you, you will find your flow again. The second thing is we have to remember that chaos is a creative force. And so there's been more chaos this year than we've experienced. Now, here's the thing that I love about the chaos that has happened this year. Not that it's been wonderful. I don't think it's been great. And I'm not saying, hey, it's no big deal. But what I am saying is that it's been a peaceful, for the most part, chaos. We've had riots and we've had some of these other things that have not been so peaceful. But for the most part, when we're dealing with all of the things going on, we're not dealing with a world war. We're not dealing with, all of the things that could be pushing chaos in our face. Now we're dealing with things where it's a little bit more chaotic and it's a little bit more difficult out there for us to deal with. But the reality is this is where growth comes. And fortunately, we don't we haven't had, something so dramatically like a war or something to shift the globe and get us globally aware. But we have had COVID that has made us globally aware and globally united. We are seeing some other things socially in different countries, including our own, that are being brought to the surface. During and through all of this chaos, it adds to the pressure. It adds to the emotion. It adds to that damming up feeling like it's going to burst soon. The key is we choose how to release the energy. And that's going to be the big key in all of this.
We choose how to release the energy.
Correct.
In the damming up process.
Correct. Because as we're feeling it building up, we're feeling it building up, we can choose how we want it to release. Now, we can choose to lash out at others.
Oh, yes, very true.
We can choose to blame other people. We can choose to take it out on or get all caught up in resentment and anger and fear. We can get caught up in drama. We can get caught up in numbing out and all these different ways that we can try and release. But the key is that the way that I release the energy is really what is going to determine whether when that release comes, whether it's a growth and a progression or whether it's creating more chaos.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think a huge part of it for me, where I'm sitting right now, is to not, I'm really trying very, very hard at the moment to not distract and to not just jump into my normal overwork, overload. I wish I could go to Florida. You have no idea how bad I wish I could go to Florida right now, which is a major go-to for me, right? Like that run, the vacation lifestyle, like just totally redirect where my focus is instead of I'm just trying to sit. I'm going to start crying because I'm not, when I say that this is where I am, you guys, this is not for camera. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to feel it. Like you say, like it's gonna come out, right? Like I've been fighting tears all day because I didn't want to ruin the little bit of makeup that I got on to come on Monday Night Live, and here we are anyway. Like it's gonna come out emotionally, it's gonna come out mentally, it's gonna come out physically, it's gonna come out spiritually. It's that the pressure will relief, and you're a multidimensional being that has so many different aspects to you that you need all of those different places.
Right.
Like it's not like you talk about, we haven't gone through a war or something like that, which is, for me, I feel like it's a very physical experience, right? When I think of war and everything that we've been going through, I feel like has been very mental and emotional over the last little while.
I agree with that.
It would almost be easier for me, I think, if it was something tangible, something physical that I could like go out and put, like march against and do all. I know there's people that are doing those things, but for me, it's just been really, really mental and emotionally exhausting. And I definitely feel like the last 6 inches before that dam is just going to collapse.
And it either will collapse or it'll spill over in a controlled way. And that's really,
hopefully, right?
That's our
in
goal.
A controlled way.
That's our goal. And so, our goal is to find ways and use the coping skills and use the coping tools that we're always working on. And again, if you don't feel like you have those, if you feel like you need them, please come in or reach out to other professionals and find ways to get that release or to get the tools that help you do it in a productive way. Mm-hmm. This is the time that I really see families struggle. This is the time where I see companies and professionals struggle. I see people struggle personally because there's no really solid coping tools or coping mechanisms that people have learned to really use that release or use that process, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So this is the time while we're going through all of this. The next piece that we've got to add to this, and the next thing that I would add to help us is we've got to learn to look for what is it that I'm learning from this experience. Mm-hmm. And we hear this a lot in our industry, especially in the self-help industry. What is the message, or what am I learning during this period of time? Because most of the time what I see is when things start to build up and the pressure starts to build, we look more for a release via either blaming, anger, resentment, lashing out, acting out, using substances or other things. And we find all these ways, but we never look for the message. We never look for what am I learning from this? Mm-hmm. Now, for some of us, we're right in the middle of it. And like you said, your face, it's right up in your face.
Right here.
To see the message or to see the lesson isn't easy. Mm-hmm. But what you've got to recognize is that the more that you lean in and the more that you trust that it will come, then when you do get through that process, when it starts to come forward, then the lesson starts to make sense. And I know for me personally, in some of my experiences, the lessons didn't come until later. Yeah. Some of those lessons didn't come, but because I was prepared and because I was looking, because I was in a different headspace than my old patterns had been, it was easier for me to find the message in the madness, so to speak. Yeah.
And I think that is another kind of part in what I am going through at the moment, is that I know that there's purpose in it, right? Like so often when we feel like this, it's just like, I don't want it. I don't want to feel it. I want to do anything other than be feeling stuck. And yet there's purpose in it. So almost that endure to the end principle, like kind of comes into mind a little bit. Like, I feel like I could be going out on a huge limb here, but I feel like it's in moments like this that it's just easier to just check out, like completely, right? Like just to be like, I'm done with being human. It is too hard to be a human in 2020 on planet Earth. It's just too much, right? But to know that there is purpose in it, that the pressure will relieve, the lessons will come, that there is purpose in it. It can almost keep you hanging on a tiny bit.
It's a leveling up.
Yes,
it's a leveling up, and it always reminds me of playing video games with my kids. And you're going through the different levels, and then you finally get to the big boss on that level.
Oh yeah.
And you've got to fight the big boss in that level. And here we are at 2020, we're fighting the big boss, people. That's all this is. And so we've just got to be able to be persistent and consistent and consistently pushing and moving forward in a healthy way using these healthy coping skills. Because you're right, it is easier to just turn the game off. It is easier to just check out. It is easier to disconnect. But that's not how we succeed.
Right. Because
once we break through that, once we go past the big boss level, so to speak, using the video game metaphor, once we move through that, then what happens is we have now leveled up, and we have now achieved a different maturity. We've achieved a level of seasoning and understanding. And this is where the gap is going to divide. So people, be aware. There is a gap dividing between those with coping skills and those without. And the world is making it super easy for those without coping skills to stay in that space. And if you want,
which is really to stay stuck.
I
mean, it feels stuck right now. I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry. Like, I feel stuck right now, but to never progress and grow, to continue that same spin, that's really staying stuck, right?
And if you want to stay in that space, like if you want to stay in that space where I don't have the coping skills, it's easier for me to blame. It's easier for me to numb out, easier for me to stay stuck, easier for me to stay disconnected. That's okay. But those that are moving forward, those of you that are moving forward, and I know it's you watching, because those of you that are watching and consistently coming back to this well to pull more information and to get more depth and to get more understanding, those of you that are watching, that gap is going to widen, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because you're going to watch loved ones, family members, and friends that aren't willing to do the work, that aren't willing to dig in, and aren't willing to do the things that they need to do to move themselves forward, and you're going to be on the other side of the gap, moving away with these coping skills and these coping mechanisms,
and just having leveled up. And
it does help, because those are the individuals, and you know who they are. You see them all the time. You'll see them in crises, and they're just so calm, and they don't get ruffled, and they're very calm, and their energy is very easy to be around, and they're very consistent with their tones and their feelings. And if they get mad occasionally, they get upset occasionally.
Absolutely.
But the reality is that there's this consistent growth within them, and that's where you are. Those of you that are really tuning in consistently and learning and growing.
Yes.
So we're getting some comments.
Yeah. So Rachel says, I think sometimes the struggle is the wait for the lesson or message, because they don't always appear right away.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. We completely agree. But the more that you do practice it, then I would agree with you, Dean, that the quicker that the lessons do present themselves.
Yes.
After the dam breaks, or
After
whatever the analogy is that we're running through here.
Comes.
Yes, exactly.
We got two of them. We got a dam and we got a video game.
That's right.
But once we get through that, that's where the challenge is. So really, again, number one is we have to recognize if you're feeling it, good. That means that you're aware. The second piece is we have to recognize that there is a purpose behind all of this. There's a message and a lesson. And third is right before anything starts, right before you level up, there's always the big boss.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I really want to encourage you all to really focus on during this time.
Yeah, and I love it. One more thought just before we bounce out here is I love that you did the video game analogy, because I can go there really easy. So it's in that time when it's easier to just loop back and start in my mind it's Mario and we're playing Bowser. Okay. That's what we're doing. So it's easier to head back to the beginning and do, and just start working your way back through again. However, there's no way to move forward until you go through that checkpoint.
That's right.
You have to move through that big boss in order to continue on playing the game and to get better and to move forward.
Yeah. You're eventually going to have to face it.
Yeah. And if you
That's the
find
reality.
yourself cycling like that, we talk about this a lot in our podcast. We've talked about this a lot on other lives, but you have to be willing to hit that uncomfortable piece and to work through that next big boss, right?
Yep.
And that could be an area to take a look at. And once again, come on in and we can help you in coaching to figure out which big boss is keeping you stuck. Which one are you like unwilling to really go out there and face?
Yep. Come in, call in.
Yes.
Phone, Skype, Zoom, whatever you feel like.
We got you.
We got you. We do it all. We do it all. Whether you're local or whether you're out of state or out of country, we got you.
And if you're feeling like this, please know from my heart to yours, you are not alone.
She gets it.
I get
we
you.
all get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing our videos. Thank you for taking these topics to the dinner table and
The water cooler.
The water cooler. We are super excited. Next week, Kate will be on her own. I'm going on vacation.
Dean gets to go on vacation.
So next week, Kate will be on her own. So please support her. Make sure that you watch and comment and help her out while she's on her live next week.
Yeah, and you guys are awesome. We love you. Mwah. Happy Labor Day if you're in the States.
And Richard, happy Labor Day.
Yes,
Thank you for shouting that out to us.
us.
And we will see you all next week on
Monday Night Live. Bye.
Bye.